Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, or good evening, maybe even good morning, wherever you are. This is a video response to Exit the Matrix. Evolution is a fairy tale, and as much as I like a lot of ETMs content, this one I have to disagree with. I'm going to say a few things now, but some of you will agree with it. Some of you may realise that the Darwinism or the theory of evolution is actually plausible, and some of you will discount it out of hand. Anyway, I get that. I'm not here to persuade anyone. I'm here to just say how I feel about this. Now, evolution is something we can see happening all around us every day. Every time you see a puppy born, or a kitten, or a new hamster, or even your own children, they are an evolution of you and your wife or your husband, or they are an evolution of the puppies or the kitten's parents. They are a combination of those two sets of genes, and they have taken on certain attributes from you and your wife or husband, and those attributes will help them live in this world, and they will pass certain of those attributes, the successful ones, on down to their children. Now, evolution for us as a species has slowed somewhat because the environmental pressures are off, where we have the ability to control our environment now. There's no weight leaning on us to change, but we're going to step out into the wild now, to wild animals, and we will see that evolution work, because evolution is driven, the need for evolution is driven by environmental change, and the mechanics of it, how it works, is through the genes and sexual selection. How it works is that the animals that are most adapted to survive in a particular environment will go on to have more children, where those are less adapted won't live as long and will have less or even no children to pass their genes on to. So you end up with a purified form of what works, and the chaff, if you will, is winnowed away. And the same thing happened to us hundreds of thousands of years ago, and I will explain it as simply as I can, is that we didn't just spring from monkeys fully formed. A long time ago, an ancestor of ours who was a monkey, if you want to call it a monkey, it was more of an ape, a great ape like a gorilla or a chimpanzee. They split off from us. They were placed in an environment which forced changes upon them and caused them to adapt to that environment, whereas the gorillas or the chimpanzees moved on about their daily business and remained as they were in their environment. But the ones that were to become human, they were dropped into an environment which forced them to stand upright, to walk on two legs as a preferred method of locomotion, and that was probably because they lost their trees. They lost the need to climb, but they were in the long grass, and so their visibility was restricted, and standing upright allowed them to see over it. And those that could stand the most upright lived the longest and had the most children. and those children were able to stand even more upright and see further over the long grass. That's how it works. We've seen it in all these breeds of dogs that, well, they started off as wolves 50,000 years ago, and we bred what we liked. That was forced evolution. That was artificial evolution. That was driven by not environmental pressure, but what men wanted from their dogs. And because dogs can breed at 1 or 2 years old, the cycles, the generations of from one dog to another is very, very quick. A man can see 40 generations of dogs being born in his own lifetime. That's why they change so quickly. And there's dogs that have split off. Painted hunting dogs from Africa have become so speciated away from other dogs that they can no longer breed with them. You can't get a crossed African hunting dog with anything else, because the genetics are just too incompatible. And that is evolution at work right there. Animals change over time to suit their environments, and we've seen it, and we've seen it over and over. They change because we changed them. They change. We've changed ourselves in the last 100 years, and that was just through diet and economical fortitude. And I always remember this particular proof of it is that when you look at the photographs of soldiers from World War One, the rifles they hold seem huge in their hands. And then recently I myself held a World War One rifle, and the thing was tiny. But then again, I'm 6'2", and there weren't many people around in a days of World War One that were 6'2". And that change was forced upon us by our diets, because nowadays working people can afford 3 meals a day and to give their children 3 meals a day. But 120 years ago, you know, they were lucky if they got a thin stew of an evening. And malnutrition was quite a common thing. So yes, we have evolved in the last 100 years over 4 generations through our diet. How weird is that? And we've become, some would say, smarter. Alright, we've developed a bigger ability to learn and a bigger capacity to communicate than the great apes. But we had to. It was forced on us by our social interactions, and our brains became big so that we could quickly and decisively, and most importantly correctly, deduce the meanings in facial expressions and other very subtle cues like body language, way before we ever developed language. You can see that happening. You can see that in the great apes, in the chimpanzees and the gorillas today, where they talk with their eyes. I'm sorry to ramble so much, but there's so much to say on this subject in so short a video. But if you just take a look around you, in the different breeds of flowers that have been created over generations, the different breeds of dogs, the different breeds of horses, the different breeds of ponies, cows, sheep, everything, it all had a starting point, and we changed it. And that is evolution, although driven by another mechanism, fueled by another need. But it is still evolution. And it happens very quickly, very, very quickly. And you can see it happen if you're patient and wait long enough. Don't forget the natural evolution that we saw. It took millions and millions of years, and even our own evolution up from the early hominids has taken 3 and 4 million years, and to not be able to see that does not surprise me. You can't see that from generation to generation because the changes are so minute each time, but they add up, and you can trace the lineage back through the bones. And even in some, so far down, you can go as far as DNA. And if you do not want to accept that evidence, then I understand, because yeah, the powers that shouldn't be, they do lie. But this did not come from the powers that shouldn't be. When politicians lie, they lie about what they have done, what they're going to do, what needs to be done in their little worlds. They don't lie about animals. They don't lie about science. They don't know enough to lie about science. The church tried it once. We got rid of that. Some religions around the world still do try and lie about science, astronomy stuff. They try and lie about it. There's even a few societies around the world that still try and make out the world is flat. And they're believing a lie. They're not perpetuating a lie. I wouldn't put that. Well, maybe in a few cases. But they believe a lie. And I have seen the round world. I have seen the effects of it. I have seen evolution happen before my eyes, in my life, in animals, in plants. As I have said, it goes on day to day. Things change to unrecognisable forms, and some things don't have to. Sharks, crocodiles, for instance. Certain species of trees have not changed for tens or even hundreds of millions of years because they haven't been pressurized to. But anyway, that's all I'm going to say today. Try and understand the theory of evolution before you dismiss it. It's not difficult. It's not a hard concept to get your head around. It might seem like magic, it might seem like woo, but when you boil it down to the bare bones of it, it's just basic bitch physics, and it's kept us alive all the way from the beginnings of life on this planet until now. You are the culmination of that. Don't dismiss it. Thank you, and good afternoon.